And you're watching News at 10 with me, Braden Lepal. We start with the COVID-19 updates. The number of daily new cases in Malaysia once again surpassed the 4,000 mark as the Health Ministry reported 4,008 new infections today. According to a statement by its Director General, Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah, only 5 of them were import cases, while the remaining 4,003 were locally transmitted. Selangor remained the state with the highest number of new infections at 1,391, followed by Kuala Lumpur at 513 and Johor 470 cases. Meanwhile, 2,374 cases made a recovery and were discharged, bringing the total number of recoveries up to 127,662 cases, which translates to a 75.4% recovery rate. Following this development, the number of cases currently active in Malaysia is 41,087. 246 cases are currently receiving treatment in intensive care units (ICU), with 96 of them requiring respiratory aid. MOH also reported 11 new deaths today, and the death toll now stands at 630. Also reported was the number of active clusters, which now stands at 318, after 3 declared inactive and another 16 reported. On another note, Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham also clarified that the death of Health Ministry frontliner Dr. Ali Noor Hassan was neither due to COVID-19 nor work fatigue. He said Dr. Ali died of other diseases but declined to elaborate. In a short message today, Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham said Dr. Ali died not because of COVID-19 infection or work fatigue. Meanwhile, in a statement on his Facebook page, Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham urged the people to respect Dr. Ali's family and not to speculate on his death, saying the COVID-19 test done on Dr. Ali had turned out negative. He said Dr. Ali, who died on the night of 18 January, had been admitted to Kuala Lumpur Hospital in December 2020 for other diseases and had undergone several treatment sessions. The health condition of Home Minister Datuk Seri Hamzah Zainuddin, who is currently receiving treatment at University Malaya Medical Centre (PPUM) after tested positive for COVID-19, remains stable. Now, the Home Minister's office in a statement said this after a picture of the minister went viral on social media, alleging Datuk Seri Hamzah was admitted to the intensive care unit after his health deteriorated. In a statement by the Home Minister's office, the minister's condition is currently stable and called on Malaysians to pray for Datuk Seri Hamzah's recovery. The statement also expressed gratitude towards Malaysians who are concerned about Datuk Seri Hamzah's well-being following a viral picture of him being transferred to intensive care unit (ICU) after his health state deteriorated. The statement added that any development regarding his condition will be updated in official statements by the Home Minister's office. It's crunch time for 400,000 Malaysian examination candidates as they make their way back to schools to resume face-to-face revision for their exams. These candidates will be sitting for the 2020 Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia (SPM), Sijil Vokasional Malaysia (SPVM), Sijil Kemahiran Malaysia (SKM), Sijil Tinggi Persekolahan Malaysia (STPM), Sijil Tinggi Agama Malaysia (STAM), and Diploma Vokasional Malaysia, as well as other international level exams certified by the Ministry from next month onwards, made their way back to over 2,400 secondary schools nationwide. After almost 4 months away from the classrooms, these exam candidates made their way back into their classrooms this morning. A check on the students showed that the candidates were mindful to stay far apart from each other as they waited their turn to enter school grounds.
Saya menjaga keselamatan daripada kawan-kawan sebab sekarang kes COVID telah meningkat dengan mendadak kan. So kita kena menjaga keselamatan kita dan menjaga SOP dengan patuh lah.
Saya memakai face mask dan perlunya ada penjarakan fizikal di sekolah adalah kerana untuk mengelakkan daripada lagi ramai mangsa untuk dijangkiti daripada COVID. Under the watchful eyes of the teachers who were stationed at the entrances, students had their temperatures checked while ensuring physical distancing was maintained.
Kampung Orang Asli Batu Enam at Batang Padang in Perak will be put under Enhanced Movement Control Order EMCO commencing tomorrow and expected to end on the 3rd of February. Senior Minister for Security Datuk Seri Isbah Sabri Yaakob said the decision was made upon advice by the Ministry of Health MOH following a risk assessment conducted in the area. The EMCO is meant to reduce movements in the community and allowing Health Ministry to carry out targeted screenings on 494 residents in the locality. Screenings had been conducted in the area since 14 January, where 12 positive cases were detected and 87 close contacts were instructed to undergo quarantine. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said 752 individuals were arrested for breaching the Movement Control Order (MCO) SOP yesterday, with 718 of them were issued with fine and 34 others remanded. The senior minister also said 178,000 foreign workers have been screened as of yesterday, where some 3,000 were tested positive for COVID-19. A 16-year-old teenager was brought to the Kota Baru Magistrates Court and accused of raping a Year 6 girl at a Tafiz centre no longer operating since last year. The accused, however, pleaded not guilty before Magistrate Kamarul Rosalie. The accused, who was then 15 years old, allegedly committed the act on the 12-year-old in a room of a Tafiz centre in Pasir Tumbo at about 3:30 a.m. on the 12th of June 2020. He was charged under Section 371, subsection 1 of the Penal Code, which carries a sentence of up to 20 years imprisonment and lashing upon conviction. The accused, who is still under the legal age, is also bound under Section 91 of the Children's Act 2001. The case is managed by State Deputy Public Prosecutor Mohammad Shahril Ramli, whereas the teenager was represented by lawyer Nik Mohammad Nashrik Muhammad Nazman. The court allowed the accused a 1,000 ringgit bail with one guarantor, and the case was set to 25th February for document submission. Sarawak and Pahang have reportedly fully recovered from floods as of this evening, while the condition in Sabah is gradually improving, with the numbers of affected residents in temporary relief centres (PPS) steadily decreasing. Now in Sarawak, the last PPS to close at 2 p.m. was in Sekolah Kebangsaan Tanah Puteh in Serian. According to the Natural Disaster Management Committee, all 309 affected by floods who became the latest batch in the PPS had returned to their homes. Over in Pahang, the last PPS at Sekolah Kebangsaan Tamai in Pekan was closed at 3 p.m. after all 47 evacuees from 24 families had returned home, marking the end of the 18-day-long floods in the state. However, heavy rains, which persisted for several days, also caused a landslide at kilometre 63 and kilometre 73 of Jalan Kuantan Segamat, causing the road connecting the East Coast and Southern Peninsula to be cut off for 4 days. This year's floods recorded the most amount of residents affected, with 27,294 individuals had to take shelter, and almost 300 PPS opened up across the state except in Cameron Highlands. 7 people also reportedly died of drowning or electrocution. Meanwhile, in Sabah, affected residents dropped to 624 individuals from 195 families compared to 791 individuals from 227 families in the morning. Malaysia's Civil Defence Force APM in Sabah in a statement informed that 3 PPS were closed, which were located at the Likas Community Hall and Masjid Jamek Kota Kinabalu, as well as the Bin Sulung Paitan Hall. APM are still monitoring the situation with help from the Malaysian Armed Forces ATM. Affected residents are still housed in 5 districts: Beaufort, Kota Belud, Tuaran, Papa and Tenom. Still to come, Central Bank maintained OPR while projecting global economic recovery. Stay with us. Bank Negara Malaysia (BNM) announced that the overnight policy rate (OPR) will remain at 1.75% following the Monetary Policy Committee (MPC) meeting today. The MPC projects a continued recovery in the global economy, although the downside risks remain amid uncertainties surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic. The central bank said the resurgence of COVID-19 cases and the containment measure taken had affected the economic recovery momentum in the fourth quarter of 2020. BNM said the impact of containment measures on near-term growth in 2021 will be less severe than the previous year. It added that the growth trajectory is projected to improve from the second quarter of 2021 onwards, driven by the recovery in global demand, turnaround in public and private sector expenditure amid continued support from policy measures, higher production volumes and the rollout of vaccines in the coming months. Given the uncertainty surrounding the pandemic, the MPC considered the stance taken to be appropriate and accommodative. The central bank also said it will remain committed to create conducive conditions for a sustainable economic recovery. National Higher Education Fund Corporation (PTPTN) borrowers affected by floods can apply for a 3-month loan repayment moratorium via online today. Now, the application can be made through the PTPTN official website from 20th January to 31st of March, and no supporting documents are needed. PTPTN Chairman Wan Saiful Wanjan said this was part of efforts by the corporation to simplify and reduce the bureaucracy process for applications, which was introduced under the Permai Assistant Package or Permai. Meanwhile, PTPTN Chief Executive Officer Ahmad Dasuki Abdul Majid said various initiatives were introduced by the corporation to ease the burden of its borrowers. Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, when revealing the Permai aid, said PTPTN borrowers affected by the pandemic or floods can apply for a 3-month PTPTN loan repayment moratorium. PTPTN said borrowers will be updated on their application status via email within 3 working days from the date of their application. The strategy by the government to implement a cooking oil subsidy has reduced the negative impact of palm oil price fluctuations in the world market towards local consumers. According to Minister of Plantation Industries and Commodities, Dr. Muhammad Khairuddin Aman Razali, despite crude palm oil CPO prices significantly increased since July 2019, the increase in cooking oil prices in local markets is comparably smaller. In a statement, he said the CPO average prices in local markets recorded its lowest in July 2019 at almost 2,000 ringgit per tonne, and increased to its highest at over 3,000 ringgit per tonne in December last year. The price hike had increased revenue from the country as well, helping about 500,000 oil palm farmers improve their socio-economic status. Dr. Muhammad Khairuddin said he hoped the global palm oil price will continue to remain high for the year 2021 so that the people could enjoy the benefits of the price increase through its returns made by the government. According to data by the Malaysian Palm Oil Board (MPOB), about 1 million tons of palm oil are allotted for the use of the local cooking oil market, with a fraction of 0.72 million tons for subsidized cooking oil of 1 kg plastic packets. Retailers are allowed to limit the purchase of cooking oil in 1 kg polybag to 3 units per customer in one transaction effective from 19 January. Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry KPDN HEP Enforcement Director Azman Adam said the authorization was to ensure more customers are able to buy the subsidized cooking oil. Explaining further, he said the 1 kg polybag of cooking oil is a subsidized control item under the Cooking Oil Stabilization Scheme, where the price is fixed at 2 ringgit and 50 cents per kilo. Osman said the authorization will only affect the 1 kg polybag packaging. He added that KPDN HEP is always monitoring the trading and distribution of the item in the country to avoid any price and supply manipulation by traders during the COVID-19 pandemic. There is no issue regarding subsidized 1 kilogram cooking oil packets in Kedah. However, there is an increase in the purchasing of the aforementioned subsidized cooking oil by consumers following increased prices of bottled cooking oil. Kedah State Chairman of Information, Communications and Multimedia, Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Committee, Wan Romani Wan Salim said investigations were conducted by the Home Ministry as well as the Internal Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry in all districts on 18 January. Inspections also revealed that sellers had received the supplies, yet no price reduction was made from the supplier. Furthermore, almost all premises still have adequate supply of subsidized cooking oil, and it is not expected to experience any shortages in the near future. The inspection was conducted towards 21 cooking oil packaging companies in Kedah. There are only 2 companies not currently active, and the rest are operating as usual according to the stipulated quota under the Cooking Oil Price Stabilization Scheme. The Kedah government is planning to reclaim an island off the waters of Langkawi and later turning it into a mixed development area worth 40 billion ringgit in gross development value. It signed a joint venture with Kuala Lumpur-based Widat Business Group Sendirian Berhad or WBG today for the project plan for Padang Mat Sirat near the airport. Menteri Besar Muhammad Sanusi Madnor said the project would span 1,979 acres, of which 90% would be an artificial island off the waters there. He said once complete, it would have high-end developments such as hotels, offices and business towers, shopping complexes, hospitals and universities.
Komitmen telah diberikan oleh syarikat ni, dia dah bayar komitmen fee kepada kerajaan kemarin. Kita anggap dia serius lah. Melibatkan jutaan ringgit lah. Untuk GDP dia 40 bilion ni setahun mungkin 20 bilion macam tu lah. Jadi kita telah menetapkan satu amount sebagai komitmen fee. Selepas dia bangunkan kawasan tu 40%, komitmen fee ni akan dikembalikan.
In a press conference at Wisma Darul Aman in Alor Setar today, Muhammad Sanusi said the project, to be called Widat alias Langga Suka, will take about 15 to 20 years to complete. He said WBG will comply with legal requirements in order to kickstart the project. With that, we conclude news at 10. In our top story, number of active COVID-19 infections crosses 40,000 mark. Join us for updates at 12:30 p.m. tomorrow. Till then, I'm Brendan Lepol. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Berita RTM. Good night.